It's okay?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming on my lecture. My name is Marko Petrovic. I will introduce myself first of all. I graduated CGI in Prague, in Czech Republic. I obtained my master's degree over there, and currently I work at University Jaime I in Spain. So I'm going to have a lecture, the Introduction to Modern Macroeconomic Theory. So this is the full course title. So let's have a look first on the syllabus and my teaching plan, what we are going to do in these 3 weeks. So as I said, the course will be 3 weeks long. This is intensive course. We are going to have in total 37.5 contract hours. This is approximately 2.5 hours per day. So we are going to have some objectives for this course. So the main objective of the course is to provide a solid understanding of the growth, business cycle, and heterogeneous stage and macroeconomic models. So another would be to teach you how to use modeling approach in order to quantify economic relationships, to use modeling techniques, and to develop awareness of policy implications, which is super important, I think, and to explain the reasons for making the assumptions and restrictions in certain circumstances when we are developing a theoretical model. So I expect that we are going to have some learning outcomes, and my goal is that upon the completion of the course, you will have the ability to critically evaluate and analyze economic theories and phenomena by using macroeconomic models. This word critically is very important. Ability to use basic software for macroeconomic modeling. Ability to present and discuss results of the analysis. So I think that you should be able to read some scientific paper and to critically evaluate and understand the main point. Essential reading for the course, it will be in our Dropbox folder. This is Jeffrey Parker 2010 Macroeconomic Theory Economics. This course book follows Advanced Macroeconomic Theory by David Romer. So this is not going to be in a Dropbox folder, but you can find it in the library or if you have any other source. And finally, for the last part of the course, when we start with the lab, we are going to use user manual for Flame framework, which is given by Mariam Kiran from University of Sheffield. So this is the syllabus. So I'm planning to have 15 lectures with you. As I said, each lecture for 2.5 hours. So the course will be divided in 3 parts. First part is about growth models. Second part is business cycle models, and the third part, when we start with the labs, will be about heterogeneous staging models. So we are going to have 2 assignments. So I was thinking a little bit what to do for the assignments, since I want to organize this course in a form of cooperative learning. I would suggest you to divide in a groups, and for instance, I don't know how many people will be in the course. Maybe we will have tomorrow more people. So you'll see how many people in total. So we can divide like in 5 groups, and then you should prepare some presentation. But you're going to be mixed, like one people from the central bank, another from the Ministry of Finance, The third one, for example, from the banking sector, so that we have this kind of spillover of knowledge between different groups. So this is my idea. But we are going to talk more later. So you should expect two assignments. So these are going to be in a form of presentation. So we are going to find some empirical evidences about economic growth and about business cycles. Finally, we have the project on the end of the course that will be regarding the flame framework and this framework that we are going to use in a lab. I will do my best to give you quiz every day, so I hope you're not going to hate me for this. But you know, in every lecture I'm going to give you some short questions just to see if I have to recall something. But this will be about some very, very basic and very important points that we covered in a previous lecture. So you should expect some quiz. It's not going to be hard, don't worry. So, okay, this is about the syllabus. Do you have any question? Everything clear? So we can go on. Yeah, when you get tired and when you want a break, you just ask for a break. We can make 1-2 breaks, so for me it doesn't matter. Or without break if you prefer.
No, without.
Yeah, it will be hard, yeah. But 1-2 breaks, 3 if you want, whatever, so we can make as much as you want. So, okay. So this is going to be the introduction, a first lecture, just to go through some basic stuff that you probably know, but I want to point out on the main details and main assumptions that we make when we build the macroeconomic model. So this course is actually about macroeconomic modeling. This is the modern approach to macroeconomic theory. So we are going to go briefly through methods and objectives of macroeconomic analysis, to mention variables and equations, to see what we are going to do with mathematics. We are going to do some math here, but it's not going to be some advanced, so just the level that we will need for this course. Then we are going to see relation between macroeconomic and microeconomic models. We are going to cover a little bit social welfare and macro variables as policy targets, and we are going to see how we measure key macroeconomic variables. So let's start by asking, what do macroeconomists do? So we are interested actually in the questions. For instance, why do some economies grow faster than the others, or why we have business cycles, or what determine the rates of price and wage inflation. And this kind of question often involves policy, macroeconomic policies. So what will be macroeconomic policy? For instance, should answer on what are the effects of government budget deficit, or what can policymakers do to increase economic growth, or can monetary or fiscal policy help stabilize business cycle and fluctuations. So I want to also point out that we have some goals when we are doing macroeconomics. So one of the goals is, for instance, to create a policy recommendation for policymakers. But macroeconomists actually have one very important and elusive goal, which is accurate forecasting. So in the end, we are trying to forecast and to predict some future events. This is very hard to do. Forecasters are far better at predicting each other's forecast than economic fluctuation. Also, if someone predicts correctly one time in this cycle, it's less likely to predict another one correctly also. So why is this the case? So you probably have in your hands out. So this is because modern economies are very huge entities and very complex systems. So there are like more than 100 million households and thousands business firms, millions. So, and then economists try to bypass this complexity with the simple abstract models. So we are trying to simplify the complex system and to describe it by simple macroeconomic model. But what is the good model? So that should be actually simple enough to make transparent the key mechanisms that make it work, and should be capable of replacing main aspects of the economic activities. So we should have this in mind when we create macroeconomic models. So not go too far, like capture like basic interactions and try to reproduce the outcome that match to empirical data. So we have some tips how to make macroeconomic models. So these are tips on the beginning. So for instance, we should not stretch it too far. So we should know that simple models are made from simplistic assumptions. And then for some application, these assumptions may be innocuous, but for others can be misleading. So we should take care actually what we are going to analyze and to focus on particular question, because if you develop a model for one question, it might be that for another question will not be very, very well. So in general, macroeconomic analysis consists of two types of analysis. This is like theoretical and empirical macroeconomics. So theoretical, what theories do? Creates models that aim to describe important aspects of macroeconomic behavior and demonstrate their properties by solving mathematical systems. So while the empirical macroeconomics is about empirical analysis using aggregate or sometimes disaggregated data to test conclusion from the theoretical models. So if we compare theoretical and empirical approach, we can say that, for instance, new standard macroeconomic theory often begins with observation of a phenomenon that is not satisfactorily explained. So, so we observe something, we see that it's not very well explained, that we try to develop theory. For instance, why is per capita income in the United States much higher than in India? Then we can use, for instance, Solow model to answer to this question. It's a very simple growth model that say the reason is the higher saving rate in the United States. But then empirical researchers, then they test this theory. Is it really that it's just a saving rate? So then they test different countries, then they see that actually it doesn't hold for all countries. So maybe for the United States and India, but not for the United States and Germany, or the United States and Australia, or whatever. Then we come back to theoretical field, and then we see how we can improve our theoretical model. So then from Solow model, we add some other features we will see later, and then we upgrade the functionality of the model. So then finally the results of empirical analysis might lead to the extension of theoretical model, which is, if we consider over time, that actually happened. Starting from the solo model, we developed Ramsey or endogenous growth model, then business cycles. So then we are trying to improve models. So finally we end up with heterogeneous staging models, and so on. So finally, let's introduce models. So as I mentioned before, we try to understand the important feature of the macroeconomy and to answer particular questions by building models. Good model should answer particular question. So good model cannot answer all questions in economy. So, but we are building model to answer just one particular question. And so, since different questions address different aspects of the economy, a model that is good for analyzing one question can be very bad and very poor in analyzing another one. So we should take care when we develop a macroeconomic model. What is our main question? So finally, economic models are abstract mathematical models composed of variables and equations. So this is very, very simple definition of macroeconomic model. So what are variables? So these are just measurable magnitudes of outputs or inputs. So we have in our model inputs and outputs. Okay. We can observe variables in different levels of aggregation. And we can have two types of variables, which is very important. So a variable can be endogenous and exogenous. So what are endogenous variables? So these are variables that are explained by the model. But exogenous variables are variables that are coming outside of the model. So that are not explained. These are like shocks or whatever is coming outside. So the final product should be connecting exogenous and endogenous variables. Okay. So economic equation. There are two types. We can distinguish two types of economic equations. So based on this, we have structural model and we have reduced form model. What is the difference between those? Anyone want to join me in discussion? So look on the graph. So structural model. This is if we have outcome y1, and this is a function of x1, x2, but also a function of y2. So structural model represents the equation that is actually functioning not only of endogenous but also of exogenous variables. But reduced form model is just like we have endogenous variables that is the function only of exogenous. So, and that means that we solve the model. When we present our equation in reduced form, that means this is the solution of the model. Is it clear? Mm-hmm. So this is actually a model solution consists of a set of mathematical equations that express each of the endogenous variables as a function solely of exogenous variables. So this is a kind of definition. But on the graph, it's very visible, I think. So it's very important to choose what is actually endogenous, what is exogenous variable. Because this is actually our model specification. We define this. When we design a model, we define this is going to be endogenous. We model how it behaves in the model, how we calculate this, and then we define the exogenous model that we have. We have another. We can classify models like static and dynamic. So static models are just at one point of time, while the dynamic models, they are like we model all time path. And often, when we have very complex model, then we are not able to solve to find an analytical solution, but we find numerical solution for this. So we will see when we start with RBC models, with stochastic growth models, what is numerical, what is analytical, so it will be more clear. Yeah. In a dynamic framework, we can have variable that is called predeterminant variable. So that means that at one time, this is exogenous, but in time t is exogenous, and time t plus 1 is endogenous. Do you know example for this? It's the capital. For instance, at one time it is given, but then we have investment, and in t plus 1, this is determined by the investment. So this is example of predetermined variable. We distinguish discrete time models. Discrete variable is the variable that we observe, for instance, in two different times, but one time has one value, and another time jump to another one. And this is typical what we actually observe in empirical research. So in empirical research, we work with discrete time models. But continuous time models, variables smoothly change from one time to another. So we are going to see this in details tomorrow. So how we calculate, how we discount in, for instance, continuous time framework or discrete time framework, what does it mean? We also can distinguish between deterministic models and stochastic. So deterministic, that means that there is no random process or uncertainty. So we absolutely know what is going on. So we define exactly, and we know the outcome. But stochastic models, they have some random component, some stochastic component. So this is an example when we move from growth to business cycle model. We introduce stochastic component that is actually driving business cycles. And this is like a technological progress that is stochastically hit our model, and then we have this outcome that we observe. Regarding mathematics, we are not going to do math today, but I would like just to point out that we are not going to do math because we love to do math, but we are going to use it just for a tool to solve problems. And we are going to start tomorrow, like if we, for instance, do growth model, I'm going to introduce necessary math for solving this model, and then solve the model. So later on when we do business cycle models, so I'm going to introduce some basic techniques, mathematical techniques, then we solve business cycle model. So we are economists, so we use math like a tool. So let's now see what is the relation between micro and macroeconomics in macroeconomics models. So you probably heard this phrase, couldn't see the forest for the trees. So we can imagine like micro level that is the individual tree. And if we try to find some equilibrium within this tree in a very small place, this can be just partial equilibrium. But if you want to analyze all forest and to make any equilibrium on the level of forest, this is called general equilibrium. So this is basically micro and macro level. So we are working with general equilibrium on the macro level, but we have also this micro component, because all these models that we are going to work with, they're micro-founded models. We will see soon why. So in the 70s, neoclassical macroeconomists introduced micro components in macroeconomic models by, for instance, introducing utility function in growth models, like for instance Ramsey model is first neoclassical micro-founded model. Finally, after 70s, the main challenge for economists was to properly introduce this micro component in a model. Actually, we are interested in this micro level behavior because we are not able to observe just from a macro level. So we have to go down to the micro and then to understand, because finally economy is composed by individuals. So we are trying to understand this micro behavior in order to then aggregate and then have the aggregate output. So at this point I want to give you one example why we need this micro component. So imagine, for instance, Darko. Darko lives in New York and he works in the United Nations, but he lives in Brooklyn and he bought a very nice car, for instance Ford Mustang, and then he really loves this car and he wants to commute every day with this car to work. And then we observed Darko for 1 month, and he found some kind of short way, and he's going every day on the same route to work. And then we say, okay, we observe Darko 30 days, and then we make model, macro model, or whatever, micro, and then we predict the 31st day Darko will go on this route, and really Darko goes with the same route, and we say, wow, we have perfect model. But one day the route is closed, and our models say that Darko will fly through a closed road. So this model is wrong. So this model is based just on previous observations. So what we should do there? So we must try to understand Darko's preferences and constraints, and then try to answer what would happen in the road will close. So then we can model this on different ways. So first way is to introduce Darko's utility function, that they have some constraints, but then introducing utility function to Darko, we then assume that all people have the same utility function. So not all people are like Darko, for instance. If we close the road, not all people will stop the car, calculate utility, maximization, budget constraint, first, second order derivative, or whatever, then calculate another road. No. So then we must try to understand better this. So this is where, for instance, heterogeneous agent models come to the fore. I want to give now an example for a very nice agent-based model that is developed by Swiss. They made a complete traffic network to our country, and then they're doing this kind of experiments. And then they just close one road, then they ran simulations, and then they observe like where it's possible to have traffic, and then they regulate this part of the street. So this is perfect example where actually this heterogeneous approach comes to the fore. So this is the evolution, how we start from the very simple model. We observe previous outcomes, then we try to model utility functions, then we end up with heterogeneous stages. So I hope you like my example. So let's move on. When we develop a model, we should follow some criteria. So model should be based on reasonable microeconomic behavior. Then models prediction about the variables should correspond to those that we observe in modern economists. So if you build a model, some super nice model, and then this model is not able to predict anything, so this is garbage. So it must be able to reproduce the outcome similar to the real outcome that we observe. So these are two main points that we should bear in mind wherever we work with models. Okay, so with these models we are trying to analyze social welfare and policy targets, for instance. So regarding these issues, we have positive analysis that describe actually behavior of macroeconomic variables, and we have normative analysis that actually advise which state of the economy is better, which state is more desirable. So these are two kinds of analysis. So that means in order to do the second, the normative analysis, we should define some social objective function. How do we do this? So since the 70s, neoclassical economists introduced the concept of utility function. This is widely used later and up until today. So we define utility functions of each agent. And then we see how the level of utility fluctuates regarding the, for instance, policy measure or whatever happened in the economy. But we have one problem there. So in order to aggregate all utility functions, we must put some weights, because the change that happens in the economy does not impact equally likely all people. And this is actually not possible to do. To define for all people utility functions, to define their weights, this is not possible. So that's why we usually assume in this kind of framework that all people are equal. So that all of us have the same utility function, and then we aggregate utility function like for all people, and then we see how actually some change impact utility function or aggregate level or one individual. So that's why we make assumption that all agents are equal. So yeah, I want to ask you, is this assumption reasonable for you, that all people are equal? So it's a little bit of a slippery slope. But for some kind of analysis, it works. So we will see when we start to work with business cycle models. They reproduce, they match to the data very well. But then they're not able to say nothing when we close the road. So we close the road and they say it's more or less the same. So this is actually what happened with the economic crisis, this financial crisis 2008, 2008. we didn't have a model who would predict something like that, because they have a lack of understanding individuals, because they assume that all individuals are the same. So we usually rely on observable macroeconomic variables to indicate welfare. So we try to measure welfare, like real per capita income, unemployment rate of inflation, expected or unexpected. So this is a question for you also. So, but there is an answer on your handout. So only unexpected inflation actually causes a transfer of wealth between people. Because if we all expect inflation, so all agents will behave on the way that they will reduce their price. So everyone will increase the price and inflation will not hit anyone. So we will not have a transfer of wealth. So you must understand that only relative prices matter in the economy. So you can think about this. Imagine that everything on this world increased double. So we increase double, this table increase double, this water, everything. Are you going to mention this? Do you follow me? Okay, I will repeat. Imagine everything double its size. So we double size, this building, all world double size. Are we going to mention that we double?
No.
No, because only relative measure matters. Because if this bottle double, we are going to mention if it's double. But if you all double, we are not going to mention. This is exactly what happened in economy. So only relative prices matter. So if we expect inflation, it will not transfer wealth. Only unexpected inflation will transfer wealth. Because only relative price matters. Remember this. This is super important. So, in order to measure welfare, economists usually avoid to take into account interest rate and real wages. Because if wage increase, that will be good for me, but not for company. But what is final welfare there? So this is very, very questionable. So also interest rate. If interest rate increase, this will be very bad for me if I have loan, but very good for banks. So then we have to measure how much my utility increased, but my utility decreased, but utility of bank increased. That's very tricky. So we usually avoid to use this kind of measure this kind of indicator to measure social welfare. So measuring key macroeconomic variables. So GDP is, I think, key variable for our analysis. So we have nominal real GDP per capita. We can express actually GDP on 3 ways, like output, expenditure, and income. We have basic equation for GDP measured in expenditure. This is consumption, investment, government consumption, and net export. When we calculate GDP, we have some minor complications such as taxes, depreciation, foreign transactions. Then how we measure prices and inflation. So we have used GDP deflator, which is just nominal GDP over real GDP multiplied by 100. So this is actually example of price index, and in general, the price index is calculated like prices with time t multiplied quantity, today's quantity, over the sum of products we get. This is the sum of products or prices if base year multiplied the quantity of today. They have, this is partial price index because it uses current year rates. Then we have consumer price index, which is a little bit different because it uses rates from the base year. It's last pair's price index. And finally, employment and unemployment statistics. So these differ across countries. And I would like to ask someone to tell me how Macedonian people calculate employment and unemployment statistics.
Labor force survey.
By
labor force survey.
Survey. Okay. It's similar like in the United States and other countries probably.
It should be like methodology, EU methodology.
Yeah. So it's done every year or half of the year? Quarter. Okay, so this depends on our countries, and so I didn't want to explain anything because. Okay. Do you want a break?
We can break now and continue.
Do you want break?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make sure.
Toilets are down there. Toilets.
Okay, thanks.
Zašto lahko izprinčene slednjega strane?
Nemam pojma zašto.
Ne vem, kaj bo